Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over a very interesting development in the state of Ohio. Of course, now that Senator J.D. Vance has been elected as vice president, there will need to be a replacement senator appointed by Republican Governor Mike DeWine to fill his seat. However, an article by the Columbus Dispatch that I'm going over in today's video says Governor DeWine is still mulling J.D. Vance's replacement. And the article even begins by saying, quote, "A lot of people want to be senator." So this is a very interesting situation and one that I wanted to give some attention to because right now, of course, the Republicans do have a majority in the Senate, 53 to 47, but it's not a very large majority. And if Vance is not in there for a little bit, it could even go down to 52-47 for maybe just a few days. But it's an interesting situation and one I want to pay some attention to. So this article begins by saying Governor DeWine has still not decided who should replace J.D. Vance in the United States Senate. He said, but a slim GOP majority in Congress is one factor on his mind. Quote, "I've interviewed a number of people, talked to a number of people," DeWine told reporters at the governor's mansion in Columbus. "A lot of people want to be senator, quite an amazing number. We've had some contact with us about that. A lot of people have opinions around the state, so we're in the process of reaching a decision." Vance will be inaugurated as the vice president on January 20th, meaning DeWine must appoint someone to serve in his seat until 2026. The winner of the November special election in 2026 will fill out the rest of Vance's term, which will expire in 2028. Several Ohio Republicans are jockeying for this job, including Secretary of State and 2024 Senate candidate Frank LaRose, Treasurer Robert Sprague, U.S. Representative Mike Carey, State Senator Matt Dolan, who also ran for Senate this year as well, former Ohio Republican Party Chair Jane Timken, and it does, as the article mentioned, LaRose and Dolan lost to now Senator-elect Bernie Moreno in the March Republican primary for Senate in Ohio. Moreno went on to beat Democratic incumbent Sherrod Brown. DeWine said he's spoken with both Vance and President-elect Trump about the appointment, but declined to elaborate on their conversations. When asked about the importance of Trump's support, DeWine emphasized that the person he chooses must be able to win a Republican primary. And you can interpret that however you want. To me, that sounds extremely vague in terms of who he'll support. Could be because DeWine doesn't really know who he's going to choose yet, but that does certainly sound like a very vague statement. The governor also said he's mulling how his decision could affect the U.S. House, which could spell trouble for Kerry and some other members of Congress interested in the Senate seat. For instance, Representative Jim Jordan, every time there's a Senate race in Ohio, is almost always mentioned, but again, DeWine mentioning this, I would very much doubt Jim Jordan to even be a consideration for this seat. Republicans secured a tight House majority in the November 5th election, and it's only about a 3 or 4 seat majority right now, and that is only narrowed after Trump has representatives to serve in his administration. DeWine said, quote, "I think it's a reality of where we are today after the president took a few." Vance has not announced where or when he plans to resign from the U.S. Senate, but he'll likely stay put for several more weeks to help move Trump's cabinet picks through the nomination process. This article was mentioned by Haley DeMiller, covers state government and politics for the USA Today Network Ohio Bureau. So that's just the article really quick, and I want to look now at the Wikipedia page for the 2026 Ohio Senate race. So as the article went over, and I'll just go over it again very, very briefly, the 2026 United States Senate special election in Ohio will be held on November 3rd, 2026, the same day as all the midterm elections. And the reason for this is that J.D. Vance, the senator from Ohio, was selected to be the vice presidential nominee of Donald Trump. Donald Trump won the election, and J.D. Vance will be his vice president. That will create an open Senate seat, which the governor will appoint an interim senator who can choose whether or not they would like to run for Senate in 2026. But a replacement senator needs to be appointed by the governor of the state, that is Governor Mike DeWine. After that, whoever DeWine appoints will serve until November 3rd, 2026, when there is the election, and depending on how that election goes, will determine if that candidate will continue to serve as senator or if someone else will serve, depending on how the election and primary goes. As for the state of Ohio itself, this is a very interesting one because we did just see the long-term incumbent in Ohio, Sherrod Brown, lose this race, and as an incumbent, a very popular incumbent in past elections, he did recently just lose by about 4%. Let me see if I can find the Senate results. Here it is, yes. Bernie Moreno defeated Sherrod Brown by about 4%, approximately 200,000 votes Moreno defeated Brown by. So as for how competitive the Ohio Senate race is, really depends on who the candidates are. On the Democratic side, I'll do this because this will be a lot quicker. Tim Ryan, the former representative from Ohio's 13th congressional district, who was a nominee in the U.S. Senate in 2022 against J.D. Vance, he's publicly expressed interest in running. He would probably be, honestly, the second best candidate the Democrats could field that would be competitive in Ohio. The best candidate would be the outgoing Senator Sherrod Brown. Of course, though, the best candidate the Democrats have did just lose his Senate race, and yet still he would still be the strongest Democratic candidate in the state of Ohio. The reasoning for this is Ohio has become a lot more of a Republican state over the last few elections. As I mentioned, Bernie Moreno did just defeat a Democratic incumbent, Sherrod Brown, 50% to 46%. Looking back in 2022, where in 2022 J.D. Vance was able to defeat Tim Ryan by 6.1%. This is actually one of the closer matchups we've seen in the last few years before 2024 took place. Still, that would be a likely Republican win. So really, this race, with all due respect to a lot of Democrats, this race is really about who does Mike DeWine appoint for this seat. I think whoever the Republican is appointed likely has an over 95% chance at winning this race. And that's just given the way Ohio has trended over the last few elections, both in the Senate and statewide. I'll show you now the presidential election. Donald Trump did win it in 2024. Back in 2020, Trump won it by 8 points. 2016, Trump won it by 8 points. 2012, Obama won it by 3. So the state has trended about 11 to 14 points Republican in the last 3 presidential elections, and the state is only going to continue to get more and more red. So who DeWine appoints is going to be the main point of contention for this race. As the article mentioned, the first names that you immediately think of are Frank LaRose and Matt Dolan. These are the 2 people who just ran for Senate in 2024. They're likely the names that everyone's most familiar with that have been following the Ohio Senate race. But as the potential candidate shows on Wikipedia, there's a lot of names and people of Republicans in Ohio that could be chosen. Mike Harry, the representative, although again, the quote about taking someone out of the House would likely probably deter DeWine from doing that, but it's not impossible. Mahek Cook, Warren Davidson, Mike DeWine himself, if you want to go that route, he did used to serve as a U.S. Senator between 1995 and 2007, so that is a possibility. I don't think he would do that, but that is possible. Matt Dolan, Matt Huffman, John Husted, Sharon Kennedy, Frank LaRose, Josh Mandel, who's had run for Senate in 2012, 2018, and 2022. Robert Sprague, Jason Stevens, Jane Timken. There's a lot of options for DeWine to choose from, and I would not be totally shocked that DeWine's an interesting figure because he's not really a MAGA Republican. He's definitely part of the establishment of Republicans that not really are too popular in the party anymore, but he's still very popular, it seems, in Ohio in his elections. He keeps getting reelected. I would not be shocked one bit if DeWine chose someone more in line with the more establishment wing of the Republican Party and perhaps a Republican MAGA challenger challenges them in a primary, like in the coming months and such. That could happen, but that still remains to be seen. The point for this race, though, is there's a long way to go in this one and who could be chosen. As for the 2026 Senate map is concerned, right now the Democrats have about 45 Senate seats. I have Republicans starting out with about 50, with about 4 races being competitive in Michigan, Maine, North Carolina, and Georgia. The state of Ohio I did leave off for the sake of this video because I wanted to go over it. I think we're probably going to see a matchup of either Tim Ryan versus whoever DeWine appoints, or maybe Sherrod Brown, but I'm not 100% sure Brown's going to run again after he just lost a very close election in 2024. Maybe he thinks 2026 will be a Democratic wave year and maybe better for him, but I'm not sure if we're going to see a Democratic primary of Brown versus Ryan, but it's not impossible. It wouldn't be something to rule out, but regardless, I think if it's Tim Ryan versus whoever Mike DeWine appoints, I think it'll be more than a 5% win for the Republicans, but I don't think it'll be more than a 15% win. So I would start the Ohio Senate race off as likely Republican in a Republican versus Tim Ryan matchup. If it's Sherrod Brown versus a generic Republican, I do think, yes, he just lost by 4 points. That would be a lean characterization, and I think it would probably start off the same way, given Brown will likely have a much higher name recognition than every Republican who will be filling this seat. I would probably start it off as lean Republican in that scenario. But for right now, I'm going to start it off as likely Republican, and this is all contingent on who the Republican nominee and senator appointment is going to be. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button and make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.